Hello, my name is Megan and I work for the National Mississippi River Museum and Aquarium in Dubuque, Iowa. And today we are going to be talking about my wonderful friend in front of me, our sharks. Now, often when I say the word shark, people have an idea of what a shark is. They think of things like the great white shark or tiger sharks or bull sharks. They think of really big animals, really scary animals. They think Teeth or Jaws, the movie. And in reality, that's just not what sharks are. Sharks are not these big, terrifying animals that are out to get you or to try and hurt humans. It is very unlikely that a shark is ever going to bite a person, let alone kill a person. In 2022, there were 108 bites that sharks had on humans or on boats or interact with us in general. That's only 108 of all of the millions of people who went into the water in 2022. Of those 108, only 5 were fatal attacks on humans. If you compare that number to something here in the Midwest we're a little more familiar with, which is cows, 22 people were killed by cows in 2022, which is an animal that we're not typically too scared of here in the Midwest. Typically, if a shark does bite a person, there's a couple different reasons it could be. One is that the shark is confused about what you are. They see you splashing around on the surface of the water, they look up at you, and they think that you're a food item. They think you're a seal or a sea turtle, something that would be tasty to eat. Often, as soon as they bite you, they spit you back out because you're a human and you taste disgusting. You are not the food item they were looking for. The second reason a shark might bite somebody is out of territorial aggression. They see you in their territory and they think that you're too close to their food source, maybe to a mating partner, and they want you to leave that area. That is their home when you're going into the ocean, and they just want you to leave them alone. The third reason a shark might bite a person is out of curiosity. Humans are not a normal thing in their habitat. We're the weird things. And they might bite just out of curiosity. The only way a shark can explore the world is by using their mouth. They don't have hands like we have. They can't touch things to figure out what something is. The only way they can explore it is by putting it in their mouth. Unfortunately for humans, that doesn't always turn out very well for us, but it's not them being mean or scary or aggressive. It's just them being curious about their environment. So when you think of sharks, you really shouldn't think of these as being man-eater animals. And in fact, of the 500 different species of sharks in the world, almost all of them are going to be less than 4 feet long or less than 6 feet long. There are very, very few sharks that get to the size of a great white shark or a tiger shark. Most of them are going to be small and they'd really rather just be left alone. So if you do see a shark in the wild, the best thing to do is to observe them from a distance and leave them alone. We know that sharks are not these terrifying creatures. Let's talk about what makes a shark a shark. All animals have things called adaptations, things on their physical body that help them survive. So let's talk about what adaptations a shark has. The first adaptation a shark is going to have is their scales covering their entire body. A shark's scales are a little bit different than other fish scales. They are called dermal denticles, or tiny teeth. Their scales are basically microscopic teeth covering their entire body. It makes them very streamlined in the water and are very, very tough scales to help keep them safe when they brush up against things like corals or in the event they are facing a predator and need to keep themselves safe. The next adaptation let's talk about is their fins. Sharks have 3 fins on their body. The first fin is going to be these 2 side fins, also known as pectoral fins. These side fins, along with their top fin, their dorsal fin, are what help the shark stay balanced in the water. Without this top dorsal fin, the shark would actually swim upside down. This fin, along with their pectoral fins, are extremely important for allowing the shark to stay balanced in the water. The other fin on their body is their tail fin. A shark's tail fin is what gives its propulsion or movement in the water. They will move their tail back and forth just like other fish, and that is what allows them to move forward in the water. These are typically fairly agile animals. You might notice the shark in the tank in front of me is able to make all kinds of really tight curves and turns in the water as he's swimming, and that is thanks to the tail fin helping him move forward in those directions. So we know that they have special scales to keep them safe, and they have all kinds of fins to help them stay balanced and move in the water. Let's talk about the adaptations on their face. A common misconception about sharks is that they have to constantly move in order to breathe. And in reality, that's true for some sharks, but not for all. Some shark species, especially the deep sea sharks like your whale sharks or your great whites, those ones do have to constantly move in order to breathe. For sharks like mine or other smaller reef sharks, they can actually push water over their gills and sit completely still while still being able to breathe. Sharks are gonna have gill slits on both sides of their face, and most are gonna have 5 gill slits on their body on either side, but some can have up to 7 gill slits. Their eyes are typically going to be on either side of their face right here, and most sharks do have fairly good vision. In very, very clear water, they can see just as well as humans can. They do have fairly decent vision. In low vision environments, they can actually see better than humans. They have special cones and rods inside of their eyes that allow them to see better in low light conditions than humans can. And then of course, their most famous adaptation, and that is their teeth. Sharks' teeth are positioned in rows inside of their mouth, and I actually have a shark jaw here with me today. If you look closely at this shark jaw, you can see the rows and rows of teeth inside of their mouth. Anytime a tooth gets damaged or broken, that tooth will fall out of their body and a new one will take its place. Sharks can go through thousands and thousands of teeth in their lifetime. They will never ever run out of teeth, unlike us humans, which only get 2 sets of teeth. We get our baby teeth and our adult teeth, and after that, we're kind of out of luck. For sharks, they can constantly regenerate these teeth as many times in their lifetime as they need to. Now that we've learned about shark adaptations, let's talk about the shark I have in front of me here today. The shark I have is known as the epaulet shark. It is a shark species that is actually native to the Australian region, although we do have very similar reef species here in the United States. This shark has a really, really special adaptation on their body, which is their specialized pectoral fins, those side fins we talked about. They can use those side fins to army crawl across the land and climb out of the water and into little tide pools, little pockets of water that are left behind during low tide. They will climb into those tide pools and eat all of the teeny tiny little critters that live inside of the tide pool. For the most part though, during high tide, he's going to spend his time in those really tight crevices, just sleeping and hanging out, waiting until low tide when there's much less competition for those food items. This shark, unlike all other shark species, can survive outside of the water for up to 3 hours at a time. Most sharks can survive maybe 8 minutes outside of the water, but this one can survive for 3 hours. It is an extremely specialized adaptation that only epaulet sharks have. You might have also noticed that this shark has a large black spot on the side of its body, and that is this shark's eye spot, or its false eye. They have that big spot on the side of their body to trick predators into thinking that they're a much larger shark than they are, or that maybe the shark has already spotted them before the predator can get close to them. These sharks do play an extremely vital role in the environment, and all sharks in general. Smaller reef sharks like these ones that hang out in the coral reefs are going to eat the little tiny animals that are attacking the coral reefs. So the things like small fish and shrimp, all the teeny tiny things that feed off of the coral. The larger shark's job is to eat these middle-sized sharks, these sort of lower predator sharks. The role of sharks in the environment is to create a balanced ecosystem. These smaller sharks, their role is to eat the small little critters that are living inside of the coral reefs in those tide pools and making sure those small animals are not getting overpopulated. The role of larger sharks is to eat these smaller animals and make sure that their population stays stable. If there are too many of these smaller reef shark species or species that live in the coral reefs, all of a sudden the coral reef is going to start dying because they don't have any of those little critters to eat the parasites that live on the coral reef. In general, sharks' entire role is keeping our ecosystem balanced. A really, really healthy ocean ecosystem is going to have a lot of sharks. Scientists have actually figured out that the more sharks in an area equals a healthier ecosystem. When the shark population starts to go down, the general reef environment also goes down. These sharks are vital for creating a very, very healthy ecosystem. Unfortunately for these sharks, almost every single species of shark in the world is either endangered or threatened. They are facing a lot of threats in our environment, from things like pollution and ocean garbage to humans hunting them for their fins. You might have heard of the soup shark fin soup. It's often sold at very fancy restaurants and has caused the death of millions of sharks in the world. Their other really big threat in the world is going to be bycatch. When fishermen are going out and catching something like trout, they might accidentally catch these shark species in those nets, and that's what's called bycatch. They're accidentally being caught and killed, even though they were not the intended item. It's estimated that about 100 million sharks are killed by humans every single year. And sharks kill an average of 5 humans a year. There's a really large imbalance with how many sharks we are taking out of our environment. These sharks are vital for our ecosystem, and we really need to protect them and care about these species. You don't have to love every single animal in the environment to appreciate the vital role that they play. And the reality is, without sharks, our ocean environment is going to start dying and start declining. So we need to make sure that we're protecting these species. Luckily, there's a lot of things that you can do as an individual person to help these species. One is making sure that you're not eating shark when you see it on a menu. Another thing that you can do as an individual person is watch what garbage you're putting into the environment. Try to recycle and compost as much as possible, and if you see garbage lying on the side of the road and it's safe to do so, pick it up and just throw it in the trash can. All of that garbage laying on our land will eventually go into our rivers and into our ocean system and cause a lot of pollutants for these sharks and other ocean species. This summer, if you happen to be going to a beach, watch what type of sunscreen you are using. Certain sunscreens, when you get into the water, can come off your skin and damage the coral reefs. So you want to make sure that you're looking for reef-safe sunscreen when you're going to the beach this summer. And then finally, another really great thing that you can do is come to places like the River Museum and learn as much as you can about these vital ocean species. I have Bailey here, who is going to demonstrate how you can safely touch our sharks. When you touch, you want to make sure that you use 2 gentle fingers down their backs. When you're touching, you do want to avoid their eyes and their face because those are very sensitive areas. If you think about it, would you want some stranger to walk up and poke you in the nose? So when we touch our sharks, you do want to touch very gently down the middle of their back. As you can see, our sharks don't really mind being touched. He was just sitting nice and still for her while she was touching. And these sharks are very, very friendly. These are what we call ambassador animals. Our ambassadors are animals that are used on programming to teach people why you should care about these wonderful animals. If you want to learn more about the National Mississippi River Museum and Aquarium, or how you can get our Shark Tank to visit your school, library, or local community center, go to rivermuseum.com. Thank you so much for watching, and we hope to see you at the National Mississippi River Museum and Aquarium very soon.